looks like our bolt is finished, and this is actually super smooth right here. This is pretty difficult geometry to do, this can lug especially, because this is the part that rotates the bolt that allows it to everything to lock up properly. So I guess you could call them titans of CNC.
So I'm doing most of the work on the bolt on the SMX 3100. At first, it doesn't look too bad. This mess you see on the screen, this is my program. There's a lot going on for this little bolt.
That's actually like the parts moving.
Right. That makes me want to cry. That's beautiful.
And I'm gonna put the SMX to work. For the first half of the part, it's all pretty standard stuff. We did as much as we could with the lathe. I used the groove pass to rough out and finish as much as I could from the middle of the parts. After the lathe operations, I took a 1/2-inch Harvey end mill, roughed out as much as I could from the front boss, and then I used the same Harvey end mill to do face passes on the back to give us all 3 flats on the back side of the parts. After I had the flats, I put the slots in with an 1/8-inch end mill, and then came the really tricky part of this part, which was figuring out how to rough and finish the boss in the middle. Now, it doesn't look like much at first glance, but there's quite a few angles here, and then just the way it's shaped and how it kind of curves into the main body of the parts. And then to make things even more complicated, there was a 15 thousandths max radius call out on this corner here. So I couldn't use any big tools to finish it. And even if I wanted to, I couldn't really use big tools because I had to fit those tools and find an angle that I could kick the tool out. I had to avoid hitting the shank, but I also had to avoid hitting the chuck. So I got with Dylan at Mastercam, kind of went back and forth a little with him. He kind of gave me the basis for the morph pass, and I played around with it, found an angle that I could kick the tool at to lock the tool into place and use that angle to finish as much as I could off of the parts. I start with a 1/4-inch ball, finish as much as I could with that 1/4-inch ball. Then I take a 1/4-inch bull nose, do a multi-axis path going around the part, using the corner radius of that tool, having to be careful I don't have any back tilt that would smack into the jaws. When that tool goes around this back portion, that's actually very tricky. But I found a limit for my axis control that I could lock into place, so I avoided any issues with that. And then after taking off as much material and finishing as much as I could with those 2 tools, then I brought in the very small 31 thousandths ball nose end mill, and then I used that to finish the little leftover bit from those previous 2 operations. Very small tool path, 3,000 step overs. I actually was worried because of the size of that tool, only having 1 part. I split it into 3 separate semi-roughing operations and then did a final finishing operations once I reached deck. After that, I do some 2D contours to kind of finish this step down here. The other portion that kind of gave me a little bit of trouble was this back portion here, how it's kind of keyed out in these 3 sections. So actually, Barry helped me out a lot on that portion. He gave me the swarf geometry. He blew it up in SolidWorks, so I had one nice surface that I could do a swarf pass on. And then I did a swarf pass to rough that all out, staying off my material so that my swarf pass wouldn't dig into the material. And then I actually sent it over to Jesse when he did the final operation of this part. I gave him that swarf geometry so that he could finish that and we'd have a nice surface.
So Tyson's finished with Op 1 and we're gonna run Op 2 on our DVF 5000.
So you got your bolt face here. This is what actually holds the 50 caliber round, and our extractor group here, which we also have an extractor, which fits like a glove, which is fantastic. That helical lockup just fits like a glove. Like to be able to do this without lapping or fitting right off the bat, it's really kind of cool.
You may have already seen a video where we made this fixture. So first, let's talk about some of the challenges that this part presents in holding something like this. Now, I immediately see that this part has a lug that sticks off the bottom side, so just holding it in a vise with some V-blocks is going to be difficult, because not only does it have a lug on one side, it has a cutout on the opposite side. So just looking at this, I know I want to locate off of this top diameter, but I had this lug and this cutout in the way, as well as some features that I have to time the part with. So if I look at the fixture that I come up with, it's a simple square. So I know it's gonna fit right down in my jaws of the vise. And I also have a center bore here. That bore is a slip fit with this outside diameter. So that's what's gonna locate in X and Y. I also have this cutout here, as well as this window, and that's gonna provide relief for this lug to slide down in. Now this window has a bottom, and that's what's gonna locate the part in Z. So it's gonna sit straight down on that face. And if I look on the bottom here, I've got a counterbore hole. That's so I can utilize the thread that's in this part and run a bolt down into the part, and that's what's gonna secure it to the fixture itself. And like I said before, I have a large 30-degree chamfer on the top. That way I have plenty of clearance to reach the back side of the head. Now this fixture does take care of most of the degrees of freedom, but as you can see, it can still turn side to side. But this is a one-off part. It's meant to be done fast. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I know that I'm going to indicate off of this face in the machine to set my Z-axis. So I really am not going to worry about having a timing mechanism built into the fixture itself. So as a one-off part fixture, this is going to get us exactly where we need to be without spending a lot of time on design or machining. All right, if we take a quick look at the stock, it's going to look something like this when we get it from Tyson. So all of this stuff on the back side is not going to be finished. We need to bore out this top bore. Of course, we got some chamfers to take care of, as well as this pocket here, which is going to hold the extractor. We also have a hole here in the center of this pocket, and that's where the spring is going to go for the extractor. Now the extractor is a piece that's going to hold the shell casing inside the bolt. Next, if you look around this part, we've got a couple like slots and little open pockets here that we got to take care of, as well as this angle here. And we'll also be doing a couple of fillets along this profile. And on the back side, Tyson has roughed out this helical pattern, but we're going to come in with a small ball nose tool and finish all of those out. Mastercam makes it really easy with their unified multi-axis toolpath. So we're going to take a 1/16 ball nose and essentially surface mill this entire profile. But as you can see here, I don't have a lot of clearance, and I don't want to use an extended reach tool. So that's the beauty of 5-axis machining, is that we can angle that tool away from this face and still use a small or standard tool. So if I run a back plot on this real quick, I can see I'm working down this face and I'm using a sweeping motion. So essentially this is like a 4-axis tool path where I'm going to use that rotary axis and just spin back and forth. But I'm also tilting the tool away slightly from this face. So as you can see, there's going to be some clearance with that shank, just enough so I can use a standardized tool. Now I'm going to use that same process all the way around the part. But as we've noticed that we've got some very small fillets in this bottom here, as well as some like incomplete surfaces here, and this diameter continues on back. Well, I want to make sure that we get all of that taken care of. So I'm also going to use that same pattern and take care of that bottom surface as well as all of these fillets. Now Mastercam easily lets me do that with the same type of tool path. That way I know that I'm not leaving behind any material. So as you can see, this time we're able to go all the way around the part, as well as get up into these cavities, all with a single tool path. That's not only going to ensure that we get all of the material that's left behind, but as you can see, this is a very clean looking tool path. Now, knowing that I had to get to all of these features behind this head is the reason why I designed the fixture the way I did. So as you can see, this has a very large chamfer on the top of this fixture, and that was there simply for clearance. With the bolt being completed, that's going to wrap up all of the parts on this AK-50 project. Now, we had a great time making all these parts. They were super challenging because of all the geometry and the tolerances that we had to hold, but we got to utilize almost every machine in this shop, from the 3-axis BVM to the 5-axis DVF to the 9-axis SMX mill turn, and even both the wire and sinker EDM. And I want to give a big shout out to Brandon Herrera. We really thank you for letting us be a part of this project. And who knows, this might not be our last video on the AK-50 project. You may get to see us test fire it.
Looks like our bolt is finished, and this is actually super smooth right here. The cam groove is the part that actually rotates the bolt here. So these two parts, these angles, work together to rotate the bolt and lock it into battery so that the round can fire and I don't blow up. Again, really, really cool when I don't blow up. Now that everything's together, we can take our bolt here, rotate it in, and our bolt is camming the way it should.